Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be unto you. We are finished with ayah number 39 and 40 from Surah number 22. And today we should start with ayah number 41. But because of the connection, we have to go over to ayah 39 again and 40. So in ayah number 39, it says, permission has been given to those who have been fought, that they have been wronged. And Allah is capable of giving them victory and support. This ayah is the first ayah ever to come down in the Quran to allow Muslims to fight at all. The context here is not really to fight, but to fight back. And as you could see, it comes in the form of permission to fight back has been given. Because previously, for 13 years of total persecution, torment, and killing, Muslims were told throughout the period of Mecca, hold your hands to yourself and do not push back against even aggression. The community was very fledgling, very poor, and they didn't have any means to push back against the aggressors, which were the pagans in Mecca. But this ayah, ayah number 39 in Surah number 22, named Al-Hajj or pilgrimage, permission has been given by Allah that they have been wronged, they have been fought wrongly, and Allah is telling them He is capable of providing them the support they need. Does this mean that He was not capable before? No, of course not. Allah is always capable of providing support. But the point here is, it is in His wisdom that Muslims go through this process like Muslims have gone through it with all previous prophets. The followers of Jesus, were tormented and tortured and persecuted along the way. The followers of Moses in the beginning, also the same. All throughout their life, they have been persecuted. So this is clearly a law that if you believe, you will be tested. If you follow God and claim to believe in Him and to love Him, He will put your claim through the test. And this whole life is about being tested. So it is not about only Allah's ability or capacity to defend the Muslims. Allah always defends the Muslims. But the issue here is Allah did not give them the permission to fight back because they were very few and they could have been completely decimated if they engaged of a real war between them and the majority of the pagans or idol worshippers. So here is the first ayah, and there is no any ayah in the Quran, as we mentioned before, that allows Muslims to initiate a fight from nothing, for expansion, for resources, or anything else other than either actual aggression or threat of aggression or imminent aggression. Only three conditions: either actual attack, imminent attack, or the threat of an attack. Then Muslims can take precautionary defensive measures or actual defensive measures. So ayah number 40 talks about those people who have been fought. Who are they? It says, those are the ones who have been kicked out of their homes without any due process or without any fault or provocation on their own, except that they said, Allah is our Lord. sets the rule for which the permission is given. Allah says, were it not for Allah pushing people by each other, many grain silos and many monasteries, many markets, many prayers, many mosques, that the name of Allah is mentioned a lot, would have been destroyed. In other words, if people do not push against one another, their vital social, political, and economic and religious interests would have been destroyed completely. So the reason Allah is giving the permission is to protect the people's interest, which is to defend their homes, to defend themselves, to defend their religion, and to defend their land and their families. So this is clearly a defensive posture, not a posture of aggression or violence that could be initiated without provocation by Muslims. It goes on, and Allah will support those who support His cause. Those who support Allah by working on His causes, Allah will support them. Allah is mighty and exalted. Allah is the mighty one and the exalted one. Then it goes further, ayah number 41. Those who, if and when we empower them in the land, they would establish prayers and they would bring forth and pay forth their zakat. Z-A-K-A-T. Zakat means alms. A-L-M-S. And they enjoin what is good and commanded, and they forbid what's evil and stop it. And to Allah belongs all the consequences, which means, as Muslims, if Allah gives us power in the land, we must establish prayer, we must pay our zakah, the due alms to the poor and the needy, we must enjoy what is good, and we must stop and denounce what is evil and despicable and unacceptable. And leave the consequences up to Allah, because it all belongs to Him. Sometimes people say, but we are poor. Well, fine, but push back with whatever means you can. Do not let the aggressors get away with aggression scot-free. You have to show them your willingness at least to stand against their aggression, and the weak and the poor on your side, they need to see that there are among their community people who are willing to stand and push back and defend. Now it starts to talk to Prophet Muhammad in ayah number 42. It says, and if they belie you, if they claim that you are a liar, if they don't believe you, then many prophets have been belied by their communities, like Prophet Noah and the people of Ad, A-A-D, and the people of Thamud, T-H-A-M-O-U-D, Thamud, T-H-A-M-O-U-D. So Allah is telling Prophet Muhammad, if your community do not believe you, they have disbelieved other prophets before, like Noah, Ad, and Thamud. Also, the people of Ibrahim, they rejected his message. The people or the community of Lot also rejected his message. And the people of Madian, M-A-D-I-A-N, or M-E-D-I-A-N. It spells both ways. And even Moses himself was belied. He was not believed. So I gave respite to the disbelievers, then I took him out. And what a censor did I apply to them? Censure, censure. Then ayah number 45, it sets a rule. It says, and how many villages have we destroyed before, as they have been wronging themselves and others, and now it has crumbled and has become empty, and it's like a dried well and an old ruined palace. Ayah number 46, have they not roamed the earth, have they not walked the land, so that they would have some hearts with which they reason, or ears with which they hear? Indeed, it is not the sights that become blind, it is the hearts that turn blind. The hearts that are inside the chests. So what does this ayah say? This ayah is saying, if people just roam the earth and walk the earth, they will see the destructions and the fate of communities before them. There are so many communities whose history is kept either in the ruins of their homes or in the construction they have done in high mountains and valleys, or the gardens that were swept out. So there are residuals and archaeologists or archaeological artifacts to show that those communities that used to live in these areas have been decimated by the punishment of Allah. So it says, haven't they walked the earth so that they may have hearts with which they reason and ears with which they hear? Indeed, it is not the eyes that turn blind, it is the hearts that are in the chests, which means when the person turns a blind eye, then he is described in the Quran as blind. Okay? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, it is not the eye that actually sees. The eye only takes a picture, but the heart interprets the image to say, this is a human being, this is Ahmad or Ala or Amira or whatever. So the eye does not do the recognition. The eye only takes a picture. Then the heart interprets the picture for the person. So if there is blindness for people not seeing, it is not the eyes. Likewise, deafness is not the deafness of the ear. It is the deafness of the heart. When the heart refuses to hear the message or to heed the message, then the heart is turning the ears as if the person is deaf, but the person is not deaf. It is the heart who is deaf. The person may not be actually physically blind, but the heart is blocking the processing of information. Ayah number 47, and they are hastening the punishment. They tell you, O Muhammad, bring it on. And it goes on to say, and Allah will never renege on His promise. Allah promised them they will be punished if they do not believe, if they do not accept the message. They refuse and they say, bring the punishment. Allah said, it will come certainly, because Allah never reneges on His promise. And then it goes on to say something very important. And a day with your Lord equals 1,000 years in your own count. So, in the calculations of Allah, one day in His account equals 1,000 years of our account. Can you believe it? One day with Allah equals 1,000 years of ours. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, be patient, or let them wait, or we will draw them close and then we'll seize them out, it doesn't mean tomorrow and after tomorrow. It may be a generation or two, but the punishment certainly comes, and the threat that Allah puts forth will always be carried out if people do not heed the message. So ayah number 48, it says, and there has been so many villages that I have given respite when they were wronging and they were unjust, and I took them out, and to me is the final fate and the final destination. They come back to Allah. So Allah says that He has given respite, He has given warnings and extended chances and opportunities to communities before He took them out. Why does He do this? Why doesn't He punish the disbelievers who are aggressing against the truth and against prophets right away? Well, sometimes He did and sometimes He doesn't. It's up to His timing. Like Pharaoh kept exploiting and manipulating the children of Israel and the rest of the Egyptian community for years, tens of years, decades. But when Allah decided to draw him, He pulled him from his palace all the way east to the Red Sea, and the Red Sea is where his demise took place. So Allah decides when and how to take someone out or some community. It's up to Him. So we should not be pushing Allah to do what we want, the way we want, or the time we want. We can ask Allah to take care of our expectations, to take care of our needs, to protect us from those who aggress, but we should not expect Allah to do our bid. He knows His people, and He decides in His wisdom and divine knowledge how long will He give them of a chance before He punishes them. It's not up to us. Like, for example, now, you see Muslims in Myanmar, and when I say Muslims, I mean the followers of Prophet Muhammad, the followers of prophets Jesus, Moses, and other prophets. Because in their times, they were the Muslims, they were the people who submitted to Allah. So nowadays, we see Muslims put in concentration camps. They are being killed and tortured in China. China, that we buy their products every single day. They are putting more than 2 million people in concentration camps just because they are Muslims. They are destroying mosques. And people are crying their hearts out to attract the world's attention to the problem. But nobody is listening because China is financially and militarily powerful. The same thing Myanmar. Even Myanmar is a small country, but they are also killing Muslims. The Buddhist monks are killing Muslim minority, and they are burning them alive, and they are burying them alive. And definitely those Muslims are praying and asking Allah, when is your victory coming? But like what happened, for example, 30 some years ago, Afghanistan was occupied by Russia. The Russian invasion took over the whole country. And Afghanistan is a very dirt poor country. You can rarely find an educated person in Afghanistan. It's all tribal, all agricultural, or Bedouin, and it's all dirt. Okay? So, for 10 years, from 79 until 89, the people of Afghanistan were under complete Soviet repressive regimes and military occupation. They were killed by tanks, by gunships, helicopter gunships, by all means, by the most sophisticated military empire at their time. 10 years. But when the people stood up and they started to fight back, Allah gave them the victory finally, and the Soviet empire itself was broken down into pieces. It never came back since. So Allah has His ways, and has His timing, and has His knowledge, and has His wisdom to decide what to do. But we must keep praying to Allah. We must keep defending ourselves, defending truth and justice, not only for Muslims, but for everybody. So, and how many, number 48 one more time, how many villages, countries, towns and communities I have given respite and chances while they were wrongdoers. And then I took them out and they all returned back to me, and their faith is in my hand. And number 49, say, O mankind, I am nothing more than a warner with a clear message and a clarifying message. And number 50, so those who have believed and have done righteous deeds, they will have God's forgiveness and a bountiful provision from Allah. And those who have pursued our ayat, trying to inhibit us, trying to inhibit Allah, trying to inhibit the proclamation of the message, those are going to be the companions of hellfire. And number 52, and we've not sent before you but messengers or prophets, that who, when they wish something or they read a revelation, that Satan would throw their own stuff into the ears of the audience of the disbelievers. But Allah will cancel the effect of Satan and would firmen His own revelation. Augment it, firmen it, empower it, strengthen it. And Allah is wise and aware and knowledgeable of everything. So that He would make whatever Satan throws of confusion and deception as a confusion for those who have disease in their heart and those who have hardened hearts. And the wrongdoers indeed are in a big dispute. They are making dispute with Allah and with His revelation and guidance. And number 54, and so that the people who have been given knowledge would know that it is the truth from your Lord, and they would believe in it, and their hearts would be humbled before it and open for it, meaning the revelation. And Allah certainly will guide those who believed to a straight path. As we mentioned before, the word straight path is used in the Quran to highlight the shortest distance between 2 points. Between this point and this point is a straight line. If you deviate from that straight line, the distance will be crooked, it will be more difficult, it will take you more effort and more time. So the straight path is the shortest distance between where you are and where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is waiting to receive you when you go to the hereafter. Ayah number 55, and the disbelievers continue to be in doubt and argumentation regarding the revelation until they receive the hour has come all of a sudden, or else the torment of a barren day has come unto them. So the disbelievers will continue to be in doubt, in confusion, in argumentation about the message of Islam until either the hour has come or until a very bad day's torment comes to them. Then it goes on to say, the kingdom on that day belongs to Allah alone. He will judge among them. So those who have believed and did righteous deeds will be in gardens of bliss, B-L-I-S-S. And those who disbelieved and belied our signs and evidence and verses, they will have humiliating torment. As for those who have migrated in the path of Allah and they got either killed or died on their way, Allah will certainly provide for them good provision. And Allah is the best of providers. He will enter them into an abode or an entry that they will love and they will be pleased with. And Allah is certainly the knower, the patient one. Ayah number 60, this, it says, and he who punishes the same way he was himself punished, and then somebody committed aggression against them, they will be supported by Allah. Meaning, if somebody attacks you and you push back against the attack, Allah is saying He will provide you with His support. So the support goes for the oppressed, it goes for the manipulated, it goes for the weak, it goes for the helpless. This is a concept that works like a law, a divine law. Allah's watching whatever anybody's doing, whether he is the transgressor or the victim. Allah always supports the victim. In other words, Allah is telling Muslims, never be the perpetrator of evil, or the perpetrator of war, or the perpetrator of violence against others. But you have to push back if they attack you. You have to stand for your right, as we mentioned in the ayah before. So ayah number 60, it says, the one who pushes back against aggression, when aggressed against, and after he pushes back, somebody transgresses against them, Allah will support the victim.
Sorry, you lost me.
I will repeat it. So, if someone pushes against aggression,
okay, I got you now.
And after he pushes back, the aggression comes again. Allah saying He will support him, the victim. So Allah is saying this to encourage the victim, no matter how poor they may be, to stand up for themselves, and Allah will give them the backing. So the people who are even helpless, they should never give up from the beginning. Because if people give up, every poor community will be totally crushed by the powers there are. That's why Afghanistan stood up. Palestinians are standing for 70 years. People in Bosnia stood up against aggression for years, even though they were poor and ill-funded and had no enough weapons to push back, but they kept standing until Allah made it for them. So likewise, Muslim nations were occupied for, in some cases, a century or more. France took over Algeria for 132 years, but the Algerians never accepted the presence of the occupied forces, never normalized with them. They kept pushing back until Algeria was freed in 1962. But they have been under occupation since 1831. So this is not a small feat to stand for yourself for hundreds of years. But if you don't, you lose everything. If you run away, you lose your country. If you bow down, you lose your family and resources. If you normalize with the aggressor takes over your life and the lives of those who belong to you. So Allah is setting these rules to protect weak communities against aggression, occupation, and decimation. Ayah number 61, Allah is the one who enters the night into the day, and the day into the night. I want to explain this to you. When you travel east, which most flights travel at night, it will be dark. But then, when you reach about 2 hours beyond the east coast, over the Atlantic Ocean, you start to see the sun rising line, a very thin line of light, right? And then the day takes over the night, and the night kind of like disappears in the day, as if the night and the darkness have entered into the light zone and disappeared in the light zone. And the opposite happens when you travel west to California and beyond at sunset. You see the daylight is fading and fading and fading until you see the red light of the pre-sunset. And then darkness starts to take over and the daylight disappears, as if you have entered the daylight into the darkness of the night and it disappeared therein. It's like two cones, one is getting into the other and one is overshadowing the other. So Allah enters the day in the night and the night in the day, when sun rises and when sun sets. So what does the ayah say that we don't know? The ayah says it's Allah's doing. We call it natural phenomenon, right? But phenomena do not run by themselves. Neither the sunrise, nor the sunset, nor the daylight, nor the darkness. Everything is by calculations. Why? We also know that the turning of the day and the night is a function of the earth rotating around its axis. Right? So who keeps the earth, the globe, on this axis? And who keeps the speed of the rotation at what speed? It's Allah, the Creator. And in the Quran, Allah tells us that it is He who is holding the skies and the earth, lest they may slip. Because if they slip from their places, the sky, everything will collapse. Because the sky is surrounding what we call the universe. And beyond the one sky, there are 7 skies on top. So it takes 7 skies on top of the globe, the earth, the planets, the solar systems, the galaxies, right? The constellations, all are included under the sky. And the sky protects all the creatures underneath the sky. So everything is in His hands. Nothing runs on its own. If you say the earth gets its energy from the sun, fine. Where does the sun get its energy? Right? If you say the earth is tied to the solar system by the gravity of the sun, because the sun is 1,000,000 times larger than the earth. So it has a huge attraction gravity power that's holding the earth in its orbit. But the earth is also rotating in an orbit, and before it, a couple of planets, after it, few other planets, all are held to the solar system. And this is only one solar system. Do you know, in our galaxy alone, the Milky Way, there are billions of solar systems. Do you know how many galaxies there are? NASA is telling us billions. We cannot count billions of solar systems and galaxies. Our world is much, much greater than even our imagination. We cannot actually wrap our head around understanding even the concept of sky. We don't know what sky is. We barely have discovered that the earth has a layer on top of it, right, that protects us from the debris that come from either the sun or other planets. And after that, if you exit this layer, you are in the darkness of the space. Spaceships that travel beyond the layers of the earth to reach the moon or any other planet, they are going into dark zones. So because we live here, we live on the earth, we think that even people, when they go to space, they are also having a day and a night and the sun and that. No. They are living in darkness. So the ayah here is telling us it is Allah who runs the rotation of the earth around the sun, the day and the night, and He is giving us a hint as to how the day comes through the darkness of the night and takes over, and how the night overshadows the daylight time and takes over, and we stay the night in the darkness. It's an amazing, amazing concept to know that there is Allah who's holding this. Also, one of the signs that we hear in the Quran, it says one of the signs and the miracles that Allah is telling us, pay attention to it. He says the difference and variations of the days and the nights. You know, in the winter, the night is much longer than the day. In the summer, the night is much shorter than the day. Who decides how long it goes? Who decides that creatures on the earth, they need that long a night in the winter, and they can do with that short a night in the summer? It is the Creator. It is Allah. He created us, and He is the one who sets our environment in the way that is best fit for our needs according to His divine knowledge and divine wisdom. And we always need to defer to His wisdom and to His knowledge, and not try to impose our knowledge and our wisdom or our judgment over His. So the conclusion of the ayah, it says, and Allah is all hearing, all seeing. See, at night, our eyes do not see well, right? In the darkness. But our ears are working, right? We could hear voices, for those who have the hearing, of course. Okay? And in the daytime, our eyes catch things before our ears. So the eyes become the confirming factor in the day, and the ears are the confirming factor or faculty in the night. Ayah number 62. This is to say that Allah is the truth, and what they call on for help or anything else other than Him is false. And Allah is the highest, and He is the greatest. So Allah, when He explains to us in one ayah or more what He does for us, and then He asserts His holy names, holy attributes, holy qualities, it is to tell us this is the only one you can trust, the only one you can rely on, the only one you can call on for help. It's Him. All else are false gods and false references, no matter how many people worship them. Which means, in essence, no human is ever worthy of worship. No creature is worthy of worship or exaltation or praise. Only God, because He is the one who created everything. He is the one in control of everything. He is the one that provides everything. He is the one that keeps everything in place to keep this universe as stable as we see it. Never take it for granted, because one day this universe has a term limit. It will end one day. And that is what we call the doomsday, or the day of judgment, and the day of reckoning, where every creature who is alive will be put to death, and every creature who has been put to death will be resurrected, all of them, to stand to account before God. So this is the brief story of our life, our existence, that we have to learn to live with, and we have to teach to our children, so that they have a better perspective about life than we did. So they live in peace. They don't fight their differences right here. Allah is the ultimate judge. And His judgment could be executed in this life, but certainly nobody will escape it in the hereafter, even if they escape it in this life. So you could find tyrants and oppressive regimes and nations who may not be seen as punished in this life, right? People who die on top of kingdoms, and they are oppressive, they are inappropriate, they have stolen people's money, they have wronged a lot of people, they have killed people by no fault and for no fault of their own, and then they die normally and nobody takes revenge in this life. So this life is not meant to be the end all and be all. This life is only for testing. But we see the results when we receive our books on the day of judgment. And we will be judged. The right and the wrong, the righteous and the wicked. Everybody will be judged before God. The wrongdoer and their victims will all stand accountability. Even prophets and messengers will be asked, what answer did you get from people? We went over this in previous chapters of the Quran. So here we stop at ayah number 62, surah number 22, and next time we will start, inshallah, God willing, with ayah number 63, the same surah number 22.
63, start next.